Now that Special Counsel Mueller has submitted his report to the Attorney General, it's imperative for Mr. Barr to make the full report public and provide its underlying documentation and findings to Congress. Attorney General Barr must not give President Trump, his lawyers, or his staff any sneak preview of Special Counsel Mueller's findings or evidence, and the White House must not be allowed to interfere in decisions about what parts of those findings or evidence should be made public. The Special Counsel's investigation focused on questions that go to the integrity of our democracy itself, whether foreign powers corruptly interfered in our elections, and whether unlawful means were used to hinder the investigation. The American people have a right to the truth. The watchword is transparency.
Well, it was very clear from what the Democrats on your show have been saying is that this is kind of just the beginning, that they want not just a summary of findings, they want the full report, and they want all of the files of Mueller. And clearly, this is something they've been doing for some time, setting this up that this is a fight that's going on for a long time, that Mueller, some have even sort of said he had this narrow mandate. The Congress will continue to look at it. So this is a political issue that you can be sure is going to go right through the election. Whereas the Trump side, of course, has basically set this up as collusion or bust. There is either collusion or this whole thing has been for naught. And so that they've laid that groundwork as well. I think one thing Jeffrey said earlier, which was a very interesting point, which is about the extent that the report will get into the president's actions with his advisors as president, because this is the central to the obstruction of justice inquiry. If the White House is going to try to assert executive privilege about any of his communications as president, well, that's really going to be the fight over what the Mueller report found on the issue of obstruction of justice, which we know has been a major part of the Mueller investigation. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to, not only in the summary, but in the future.
So where do you think, how long is it going to take, you think, the principal conclusions supposedly are going to be released perhaps as early as this weekend? How long is it going to take to get all of that information, assuming that the new Attorney General wants to be as transparent as possible?
Well, right. I mean, and we don't know what they are going to put out. I mean, he has agreed to do a summary. He has not agreed to do the entire report, and the Democrats are demanding that he does so. I wouldn't necessarily read in too much into the idea that if he presents his summary as early as tomorrow over the weekend, that means one thing or the other. People will try to spin that, but I think it's just something we shouldn't speculate on. But clearly, they are arguing that, I mean, the battleground now moves to this idea of the entire report and the files. We need to know all the threads that Mueller was pursuing.
All right, Mark, stand by. Pamela Brown is with us as well. You're getting more information. The Democrats are all saying they want to see everything. The Attorney General, in his letter to the leadership of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee, says, I remain committed to as much transparency as possible, and I will keep you informed as to the status of my review. That's
right. It's interesting seeing the reactions from all different areas. I've been talking with people close to the White House who have a reaction of, look, this is good for us. We feel absolved. There aren't going to be any more indictments. There haven't been indictments on related to conspiracy or obstruction. They feel like this is a good day for them. But it's interesting listening to the Democrats. They're very clear in saying, look, we want the report and the underlying documents, because as Joey said, someone can reach one conclusion looking at documents, and another person can reach another conclusion looking at the underlying document. So that is key here. What I think is so significant in Bill Barr's letter is that he said as early as this weekend, which is a very quick turnaround, he could provide members of Congress with the principal conclusions. So presumably we could learn as early as this weekend whether or not Robert Mueller actually concluded that there was or wasn't collusion between members of the Trump campaign and Russia and obstruction of justice. Again, it could be that there was conduct in this report that was unindictable, where Robert Mueller couldn't bring charges, but that he found concerning or derogatory, or not. We're going to learn a lot potentially in the next 48 hours or so.
But then it becomes, whether he could prosecute versus whether it's political, and some Democrats are going to want to impeach on what is in the underlying documents. We don't know the answer
and
to
Bill
that.
Barr has a big test, his first big test. I mean, sending out the notification today was easy that I got the report. Now there's a test of how much is he going to include the White House. You heard Chuck Schumer there say, you better not give a sneak preview to the White House. The White House is expecting a sneak preview. So that's just a little glimpse into what's ahead.